Hey everyone, I'm Pavlo Paniotti, a Customer Success Manager here at Monday.com. I've been with Monday for about 18 months now, helping organizations around the world bring structure, visibility and scalability into their operations. I'm really excited to show you how Monday.com can act as the operational backbone for your business, giving you one connected workspace where everything from requests to reporting happens in a consistent, transparent way. If we're honest, operations teams everywhere face similar challenges, whether they be requests coming in from multiple directions, siloed communication between teams, a lack of standard processes or visibility into progress, and difficulty scaling workflows as the organization grows. What I'll show you today is how Monday.com brings order to all of that, combining standardization, centralization, and accountability so your teams can focus less on chasing updates and more on delivering results. Let's take a look at how that works inside the platform. The first place that we start in the standardization process is with the intake of data. If I click here, you can see that I'm able to access a previously created form. This is complete with branded logos. We can also see that we've dropped in a background color, and this is fully customizable via the edit form functionality here. I won't spend too much time navigating through the exact functionality, but within this section, you can play around with the design so that you can implement those elements that we just spoke about. And you can also go through the edit process and change the sequence of questions using the left-hand panel here. And you can also change the setup of the questions. If you select any of the elements, you'll receive the option to either click the question settings and define whether this is a crucial and required question or whether you would like to hide it from the process. In addition to that, you can choose conditional logic, as discussed, to create specific pathways. Now let's go back to the form in question and see this in practice. If, for example, I would like to select the design request, you'll notice that this creates a separate pathway specific to that type. If I do that again, but this time with Office Move, you'll see that I get another subset of questions relevant to the information I need. The great thing about this form is that I can also use a shareable link and access this via any website without the need to log in. If I drag an incognito browser across to the window here, you'll see that when I enter the URL, I'm able to access the form without any issues. Again, I can select a specific pathway and submit the items that I need. If, for example, I take some time now to enter the details, now that I've entered the details, you'll notice that I have the ability to hit submit. And when I do that, the item will drop into my board. As a result of the standardization process, I'm able to collect the data in a clean and effective way. And as a result of the automations that I've built into my board, you'll notice that the system now takes over in assigning owners, notifying stakeholders, and in the event that I would approve one of these projects, for anything that abides to the tier 1 or large scale projects, I will also be able to create a standalone board. If, for example, I take this Office Move Elevate London and select approved, you'll notice that an automation begins to run on the right-hand corner. Now that we've approved the request, two automations have taken over. The first is a sorting automation, which sends our item into the relevant group. If I scroll down to approve now, you'll notice that the request in question, Office Move Elevate London, has moved. In addition to that, we've also set an automation to create a standalone project board based on the scale of the request. For Office Moves, we have defined that they receive their own project board. And you'll notice now on the left-hand navigation panel, which lists all of my boards and projects, that London HQ1, Office Move Elevate London, is now present. If I select Enter here, you'll notice that this is predefined with a subset of columns and data points, which I was able to define using Manage Templates. As discussed, Manage Templates let us define a board structure once with the correct columns, automations, and dashboards, and we can reuse them as we need. This relies on a parent-child relationship and allows us to also create and make changes en masse. If, for example, we go to an independent board that hasn't been built as a managed template yet, you'll note that all I need to do is click on the three dots here, and I have the option to save as a template. If I click that option, I'm going to go through a setup wizard with the first step asking us to move the original or duplicate the original. If I opt to move the original, you'll note here that I have the option to create a managed template, and it's even inclusive of a network or a parent-child type widget. As soon as I've completed the setup, this will be available in the template center, available via the blue plus symbol here. And if I go in, you'll be able to see all managed templates created by me using the left-hand navigation panel. And then if I want to amend those, it's a simple case of clicking into here, clicking Edit tab, and making those changes en masse. Now, the great thing about this as well is you can see any instances that this has been linked to. And once you are ready to publish the changes, you can do so here. Common changes that you might like to make are changes in syntax. You may also want to change or add a column. And using this process will save you many hours of manual work. A major benefit of standardizing our work is the ability to feed that seamlessly into analysis. As discussed earlier, the portfolio solution provides us with a single standardized overview of all ongoing projects. This is particularly useful for strategic level personas that need at-a-glance insights to make informed decisions at speed. If you draw your eyes to the left-hand panel here, you'll notice that I've created a folder called Strategic Reporting. Within this section, you can see that there is a portfolio named Monday.com Workspace Portfolio, and this provides us with a view of all active projects within our large scale tier. If we cast our eyes to the very bottom, you'll notice that the London HQ1 office already has the Office Move Elevate London that we approved earlier. This leads us to our next core topic, which is centralization. As mentioned, centralization is what turns Monday.com into a single source of truth. Every request, update, document, and conversation lives in one ecosystem, and we can do that with ease as a result of our standardization. For the workplace team, that again means rolling all of our data into one strategic overlay. And this will allow us to identify which ones are on track or delayed. We can see key milestones and owners, as we've mentioned, and we can also see budgets and timelines. This is also true of dashboards, which again allow us to centralize all our data into one real-time visualization, tracking request volumes, completion rates, and workload distribution across offices. Now, both dashboards and the portfolio view also have the added benefit of being customizable and dynamic. If we want to add additional insights, we just click on the Add Widget column here, and we can add as many as we want. If we want to understand an insight in more detail, we can select a specific area by clicking, and we'll get a breakdown of that information. If I go back to the portfolio solution, this works in a similar way. I simply need to click on an element to expand, and I'll get a breakdown of the projects in their full glory. I can do that again with London Floor 5, and you'll notice here that I have a breakdown of the projects that are done, working on it, stuck, and on hold. And I even have a Gantt chart at the bottom here, which shows me any dependencies and linked items, along with the timeframes that they are built within. In the same way that we can access additional tabs, they're present at the top here, but ultimately, this is a really great way to centralize all of our data into one place. Now, how do we do this? We've already spoken about automations, but we can also lean on the workflow builder. Workflows allow us to handle large-scale, complex automations that follow a sequence based on a source action. If I navigate over to a previously created workflow, you'll notice that it looks a little bit like a family tree. Here we can see a hierarchical structure of our automations stemming from the root or the source action. In this sequence, I have created a starting point from our intake board that defines if a status is approved, it moved down the relevant path. Now, the determining factor here is the multi-branch condition of request type. If I click this, you can see that on the right-hand panel, I can see the makeup of this branch and all of the stems that come off it. Because this option had multiple options, I was able to build a stem per status and define what action I want to happen in conjunction. Here, for example, I can see that anything that is approved as a maintenance issue will be moved into the experience board. Why have I done this? Well, within the operations team, they have defined that this is a task that can be grouped alongside other actions. If, for example, we talk about office moves, we can see that we have already defined that as a standalone tier 1 or priority project, and this requires its own board. Ultimately, the workflow builder is a really great way to centralize the way that you manage automations. You can create a network or a hierarchy, as we've discussed, and you can effectively visualize the pathways that you want your actions or processes to follow. In addition, you can also monitor your run history from one central place. And if you would like to invite additional contributors, you can do so by managing the member functions here and inviting as many people as you would like. Now, if we continue with the theme of automations, we can now use AI functions at monday.com to enhance our workspaces even further. If we go across to our design board here, this is used by the operations teams to effectively manage anything related to design actions. These could include layout redesigns, workplace requests, or even branding. As a result, the workplace team may need to manage large-scale invoices, briefing, anything that could relate in documentation, either online or offline. We can use AI as a result to extract key information and put them into our columns. You'll notice here that if I go into the sub-items, I can see 4 columns that I've already built, which all use AI functionality. If I go into the plus symbol here and go to more columns, you'll notice that we have the AI-powered functionality on the left-hand panel, which gives us a huge array of options. Some basic features here include summarizing long update threads so that we can save time during reviews. We can also extract key information from things like vendor files or quotes, as we previously discussed. We can even use the system to detect sentiment based on text and understand whether it's good, bad, negative, urgent, whatever the case may be. And if we're unable to find one that suits our needs, we can use the Customize AI prompt. Now, once we've decided which AI function we would like to use, it's a simple case of dropping it into the board and programming it as such. You can use a custom prompt here if you'd like to. And then you just need to select the column that you want to associate this prompt with. And then once it has had a think, it will give you a preview on the left-hand side so that you can determine the output. Here you can see that based on the previous invoice information, the system is determining this as unpaid. Let's save and apply now. Now that that's dropped into place, let's try entering another invoice so that you can get the full look and feel of how this works. I'm going to drag and drop an invoice into this column here. And in a second, the system should take over using the AI functionality we've just discussed to extract the key information, giving us time, speed, and efficiency in delivering the information that we need on our boards. As you can see, all of our data has now been extracted from the invoice, giving us an overview of who the vendor is, their contact information, and whether or not the invoice has been paid or unpaid. So, going back to what we discussed earlier, centralization is about more than just data storage. It's about transforming information into a connected, living ecosystem where everyone who works within Monday can see one single source of truth. Last but not least, let's talk about how we can use features to drive accountability within Monday. Firstly, let's revisit the communication features. If we go to our experience board, you'll notice that next to the health and safety audit preparation item here, there is a speech bubble. This speech bubble has a 1 next to it because somebody has left me a comment. If I click in here, I'm going to populate a panel to the right-hand side, which will show me a stream of any updates someone has provided. This looks and feels very similar to how all text-based functions work. You can select in the text box here, you can tag, you can type, and you can even attach images or files as you see fit. Once you click update, that will be added to the stream. And if you'd also prefer to, you can reply directly to the stream here. Next, let's go back to the portfolio solution. We mentioned the portfolio solution acting as a strategic level overlay to give us insights on the progress of our projects. Take this one step further with the in-feature AI functionality. At the top here, you'll notice a bunch of views. The first one we'll look at is a snapshot, which will provide us with a summary of projects that are off track, projects that are at risk, and projects that are on track. As is standard with much of the functionality in Monday, these are dynamic, and if you click on any of the, you will expand the analysis, which will give you further details. Now, let's go to Risk Insights. Risk Insights uses AI functionality again to give you detail on what projects may be at risk and why the system thinks so. You'll notice at the top here there is a summary of projects that are at risk, and at the bottom here it will give you the reasoning. If you expand these entities here, you'll see the summary, and then you have to address that risk, go to the project, mark as resolved or dismiss, and it means that we can be proactive in our decision making. For leadership, you also have the ability to generate an AI executive summary. And if we go to one that we created earlier, you'll note that it gives us a concise, easy to read report and shows us what's on track, what's behind, and what needs more attention in a digestible format that we can export and include in meetings. Lastly, we can go back to our dashboard to view all of our analysis in one centralized place. And because this is visible to all relevant stakeholders, we can again use this to drive accountability. This will allow us to see at a glance information with ease, including things like volumes of requests, completed tasks. We could even see capacity of people and anything that we need to pay attention to. Again, this is fully dynamic. So if we click into here, we're going to get an expanded view, and it's going to give us in-depth information about where that project information sits, what's going on, and allow us to make informed decisions about any actions that we need to take. So now that we've completed the demo, let's quickly recap. At Monday.com, our operation success comes down to 3 core principles. Standardization, which is creating consistent scalable workflows through workforms, automations, managed templates with the parent-child control, and the portfolio solution for unified visibility. We also have centralization, connecting every team and data point in one place using portfolios, dashboards, workflows, and Monday AI. And then we have accountability, which as a byproduct ensures ownership, transparency, and proactive management with people columns. AI risk insights and executive summaries as well. Together, these create scalability, allowing our teams to grow, innovate, and collaborate without losing control or efficiency. And everything I've described today, it's all built within the same Monday platform that you already have access to. This has been your Monday Masterclass on how Monday uses Monday for operations. And I have been Pavlo Panayiotou. Thank you.